Okay. Good morning, everyone. Glad to have you on the call. And hey, I want to start out with congratulations. I was talking to Cassidy. We traded some emails, and he said that you guys had the largest average sales per day in the history of the company in October. So congratulations. Wow. What a great month, especially in a year like 2020. So well done, leadership team. That's awesome. So congratulations. Hey, a quick reminder, please make sure you mute your phone. I'm not doing that for you. So please take care of that. All right. So congratulations, everybody. Hey, a quick reminder, 2 weeks ago, we talked about values and principles and standards. And I asked you, what are your values? And I wonder, have you taken any time since we spoke a couple of weeks ago to write down your values? Okay, I'll be brave enough. So has anybody done that? Unmute and tell us. Have you done it? Maybe you already had them? Anybody?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, great. Now, remember, so I want to give you an example. Here are mine. I talked about them last time. What are my values? These are the things that are most important, right? Honesty. I value that, I think, higher than anything else, because trust and trustworthiness come from honesty. And as we'll talk again about today, and as we talk about all the time, everything travels at the speed of trust, right? So honesty, work ethic. I value work ethic. I was taught work ethic early on, and I place tremendous value on it because work ethic drives results. Work ethic earns respect. So that's a big, huge value for me. Personal responsibility, taking ownership, right? For ourselves and for those on our team, others for whom we have responsibility. So personal responsibility, this idea of looking around and trying to place blame someplace else, that didn't cut it, right? At least that's not one of my values, right? And then gratitude. Now, why gratitude? Because it's my belief that when we have an attitude of gratitude, a heart of gratitude, we're thankful. It's hard to be prideful. We tend to be more humble. There's less selflessness. I mean, it promotes selflessness. There's less selfishness, right? There's kindness, service, respect, love flow out of this attitude and this heart of gratitude. So I just give you those as an example, because if you haven't done this, and be assured, these are not the right values for everybody necessarily, right? They're just what I've decided for me. So what have you decided? And why is it important to know them? Somebody tell me, why is it important to know our values? If somebody asks you, what are your values? Why is it important to know? Come on, y'all. Why? Why do you need to know?
Because values should drive your actions.
Okay. Because
if someone understands your values, then they can better understand, not only your perspective on life, but also the course of actions you're going to take.
Okay. All right. So they guide our actions, right? Values should guide our actions. All right. What else? Anybody else? What
Whenever
yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say it defines the content of your character. The things that you hold important and work towards and value, hence values, are going to define the type of person you are.
Okay, great. So our values communicate who we are to other people. All right. They communicate who we are. They help us define our actions. What else do they do?
Whenever all else fails and whatever you're going through, it gives you something to always fall back on.
Okay. They're big picture, aren't they? When everything seems to be falling apart, it sure helps me. I don't know about y'all, but it sure helps me to get back to the big picture. Well, I feel like it's all crumbling around me. I got to get back up to the big picture, get my eyes out of what's in the ditch and get them up on the road, right? So it helps us to see the big picture. All right. Anything else? Values. What do they help guard against? Anybody?
Laziness, or not, when things get tough, if your values are not aligned with what your goals are, then you'll tend to cut corners. You'll tend to, the folks that you're trying to lead won't follow you if they're not in alignment, or if they're not at least overt and you show them to that team.
Okay. Thank you, David. They guard against bad decision making. When we have clear values, they help us with that, right? Here's one of the biggest things I'm going to submit to you that values do. Here's what values do. At the end of the day, here's what they do. They impact lives. Our values impact lives. Our own, to be sure, but maybe more importantly, what I would submit more importantly, all the people with whom we live life. At home, in our friends, at work, professional life, acquaintances, our values. One of the main reasons it's important to know them is because values impact lives, and we want to impact lives positively, right? We want to lead, we want to influence well. And so it's important to know our values, have them written down, and have them someplace where you can see them and be reminded of them. So let me just encourage you, if you have not written yours down, please make that a priority. Think about it. Talk with other people about it. Talk with your wife. If you're married, your wife, your husband, if you're married, talk about it. Get them down, right? What are our values? Because our values impact lives. They do a lot of other things, but they impact lives. All right, now, so we're going to shift now to healthy conflict. All right, now, before we dig into a lot of stuff about conflict, let me ask you this question, and I want you to respond. So when you think about Multiview, what would you say are your competitive advantages? Just off the top of your head. Come on.
The data and relationships that we have with associations are our main competitive advantage.
Okay, so your length of time in the space that you're in and the relationships that you've built through those years. Okay, what else?
The people.
People. Okay, great. What else?
I would say the breadth of our experience. I mean, yes, some of it's through our associations, and maybe this is the people as well, but we talk to so many different industries and have heard the good, the bad, the ugly. I think our experience is a lot of value in terms of what we can provide our clients.
Okay, so your industry experience, industry wisdom, and what you know by being in this industry for so long. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and multiple industries. I mean, we have 1,200 partners. So one minute we may talk to somebody targeting education. The next minute we may talk to somebody targeting healthcare, and anywhere in between. So there's literally no company that has that kind of experience across all of their reps that they can provide real recommendations to their clients.
Okay, fantastic. Technical competence. I'll call it that. which includes all the different industries. What else does that include though? What's another competitive advantage you have? Are you guys any good technologically? Huh?
Come on, guys. Y'all sell. I would say creative services, support, one-stop shop. You know, we have a multitude of solutions to offer depending on clients' goals. So customization, that's others I would suggest.
Okay, great. Okay, so listen, let me ask you this. Is it important to know competitive advantage in determining how important is knowing your competitive advantage in closing the sale?
It's pretty important, Mark.
Tell me more.
Well, it doesn't matter what you're selling. You could be selling a car. You could be selling, hey, sell me this pen. Some of us are old enough to remember that interview question.
Yeah.
Or something to that effect. But even though we do have competitive advantages, there's a lot of things that we do that other people do.
Sure.
So
Sure.
why would they use us? That's where the competitive advantage comes in.
That's exactly right.
Whatever it is, whatever product line, whatever industry, whatever you're talking about, if you can't paint that picture and you can't display that and you can't get them to feel that and understand that, then we're just the same as everybody else.
That's right. Now, what are we talking? Thank you, David. Now, what do we talk about? We talk about selling at speed of trust, right? So when we know our competitive advantages and we believe in them, we're selling out of our character. When we can communicate our competitive advantages, we know what they are, we communicate them clearly and effectively, then we demonstrate confidence in the service and the product or service that we're going to offer people. So it's important, everybody. I mean, this is pretty obvious. It's important to know our competitive advantages as a company. What about your team? What are the competitive advantages of your team? Have you thought about that? As a team leader, I want to encourage you to think about that. If I were to ask you, what are the advantages of your team over these other teams? What are they? You know, it's an important question to ask. Now, let me show you something. Patrick Lencioni, he wrote The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, the prolific writer and author. But here's what he suggests. Not finance, not strategy, not technology. It's teamwork that remains the ultimate competitive advantage, both because it's so powerful and so rare. Y'all, now, David, I think it was you said people when I asked what the competitive advantage was, and you said people, and y'all, people, that's right. It is people, but it's people that are working well together in a team. It's teamwork, not just people. It's the teamwork of those people that remain the ultimate competitive advantage because it's so powerful. But here's the key thing, it's so rare. Now, what gets in the way of great teamwork? Why is it so rare? What do you think?
Ego.
Ego, great.
Pride. Yeah, I was going to say pride.
Pride, ego, what else? Anybody? Pride, ego,
Trust.
huh?
Trust.
Trust, yeah, lack thereof. Okay. You know what gets in the way of great teamwork? You know why it's so rare? Because people make up teams. That's why great teamwork is so rare. because it's made up of a bunch of people, right? Lencioni, he goes on to write, look at this. The fact remains that teams, because they're made up of imperfect human beings, are inherently dysfunctional. Wow. You know, think about that. Why is teamwork so hard? Because teams are made up of people and we're imperfect. We're inherently dysfunctional. Now, why are we dysfunctional? Why are teams dysfunctional? Well, in his book, The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, he talks about 5 specific things, and they all build on each other and they work together. We don't have time to talk about all that. Maybe we'll do that another time. But the second one, as to why teams are dysfunctional, is he says because teams fear conflict. Now, let's just stop for just a second. I want to ask you, just honestly, and you don't need to answer me, but I want you to think, just in general, do you fear conflict? Do we run from it? Do we hate it? Oh no, here we go again, right? So why do teams fear conflict, and what happens when teams fear conflict? Here's what happens when teams fear conflict. When your team does not embrace conflict and you fear it, here's what happens. It creates an environment where back channel politics and personal attacks thrive. Does that do you even relate to that? We've seen that, haven't we? When we fear conflict as a team, we don't address it in the open. We go back channel. We start playing politics and personal attacks start to happen. We ignore controversial topics. As a team leader, how often when we're going to have a meeting, we know something's going to be controversial, maybe our immediate reaction and maybe our immediate thought is, well, let's wait to talk about that. It's not the right time to talk about that. We don't have time to talk about that. I'm not sure what the answer is. So if I don't know, I certainly don't want to open it up to the team, and we ignore controversial topics that, if we're really honest, they're critical. But when we fear conflict, we ignore them. We fail to tap into all the opinions and perspectives of team members. We don't get the entire breadth and knowledge and resource and benefit of the different perspectives and the diversity. We don't allow ourselves to do that because we fear conflict. And so we may be guilty as leaders. When there's a problem, we just go to the people who we think are going to agree with us. And it creates dysfunction in the team. Here's another thing, fear of conflict. Here's what it does. It wastes time and energy with posturing and interpersonal risk management. What that means is that we spend all kinds of time worrying and thinking and planning about how we're going to say one particular thing so we don't offend anybody. Because we fear conflict, and so we can't say something that is going to offend them because that's going to create conflict. And so we waste all this time protecting ourselves, trying to figure out how we're going to say this or how we're going to say that. And it creates dysfunction in the team. Fear of conflict creates dysfunction. And it's not good, right? So what's the source of this fear? Where does this fear come from, right? Absence of trust. We don't trust each other. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, part of what I mean by that is that if we're in a meeting and I don't trust you, I'm gonna be real careful about what I say. I'm not going to be as transparent as I should. I'm not going to be as vulnerable as I should. I'm not going to let you know that I'm weak in that area of whatever we're trying to accomplish as a team, because it makes me look bad. And I don't trust your motives, because if you know I'm weak in that area, you may capitalize on that. And so I hold my cards close to the vest. I'm not transparent. I'm not vulnerable. I'm not as honest as I should. And it breeds this absence of trust. What do we say about trust, y'all? Everything travels at the speed of trust, right? Your relationship, every relationship you have travels at the speed of trust. Every sales call you have and your team have, the productivity of that call travels at the speed of trust. Everything does. So how do we build it? Somebody unmute. How do we build trust quickly? We've talked about this a lot.
Character and competence.
Thank you. Exactly. Character and competence. That's how we build it. So this source of fear, it's the number one dysfunction of a team. It's what starts dysfunction of teams, according to Lencioni. It's what starts the dysfunction of teams, the absence of trust. And he says at the core of that is we're not vulnerable like we should be. We're not willing to say, I can't do that. I know you're really gifted at that. So will you do that? Y'all, listen. This is a journey. We never arrive. We're human beings. We're imperfect human beings, right? I'm working on a project right now, and I was on a Zoom call this week, and I kind of taken the initiative to put together some bullet points, right? It was just on a Google Doc. I shared my screen, white paper, black print, just very basic bullet points, right? And another guy on the team, another guy that's part of this group we're working with, he had put together this Prezi, right? And it had all the stuff in there, and it was fantastic. And you know what? I'll admit to you, my first reaction to that was, wow, my stuff kind of looks like trash. But you know what? I had to stop. It's a red flag, right? I said, wait a minute. It's not about me. It's about what we're doing collectively. Y'all, I haven't always been able to do that. That takes maturity. That takes growth as individuals, right? It takes character. It takes competence. And what starts to happen is we start to lose this fear. We're more vulnerable. It builds trust, and we're not as fearful of conflict. All right, now, y'all listen. All important relationships experience conflict. True? Do you have any important relationship that you've never had conflict? We don't, do we? Right? How about some of these? Some of y'all, you may have had this last night, right? that brings back a lot of memories, right? How about that one? You may have had that one. This may be the picture you're in right now. I don't know, right? All important relationships experience conflict. How about this one? We've all been in that one, haven't we? Around the table, in the team, conflict. We've all experienced it. Every important relationship experienced conflict. How about this one? We may be in that one right now too, right? Tug of war, teams, we the political of getting this group of people together, getting this group of people together, and then pulling opposite directions. How time wasting is that? How resource wasting is that? How money wasting is that? Yet it's a picture of what we can move into very easily. And then based on what's going on today, I thought this was pretty appropriate, right? We took a course on conflict resolution, and now we hate each other even more. Important relationships, every one of them experiences conflict. So here's the key, right? We want to have healthy conflict, not unhealthy conflict. We want to limit the unhealthy conflict and embrace healthy conflict. Call me Captain Obvious, right? But that's what we want to do. We want to figure out, how do we limit this unhealthy conflict, and how do we embrace, unhealthy, limit that, and how do we embrace healthy conflict? So as we start to learn how to do that, let's do some definitions. Let's talk about what let's get this clear, right? So describe for me, in your opinion and in your words, your perception, what is unhealthy conflict? What do you think?
Accusatory.
Not listening to the other party when it's their turn to have a discussion.
Okay, not listening. Good.
Accusatory.
Accusatory. Man. Yeah. What else?
Your tone.
Tone. Makes all the difference in the world, doesn't it? What else? Anybody?
No resolution.
No resolution. Okay.
Being unprepared to have the conversation in the first place.
Oh, nice. So you've avoided it to the point that you're not prepared for it, and it's unhealthy.
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah. Very perceptive. Yeah.
I'd say focusing on blame rather than the resolution.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we're more focused on placing blame and protecting ourselves than finding the solution. So I just put a few things that here, personal attacks. That's focused on people and blame, not on the resolution. Finger pointing, right? Accusatory, not listening, not being prepared. Just like you guys just said, unhealthy conflict is all around us. And it's motivated, I'm going to submit to you, it's motivated, and this isn't all encompassing, but it's motivated by greed, selfishness, insecurity. Give me some other words. What else motivates it? What do you think?
Fear.
Fear. Oh, great one.
Lack of self-awareness.
Ignorant. When you're not trying to learn the other party information, other party point of view. So
when you're not willing to learn the perspectives of the other person, is that what you're saying, Aziz?
yes.
Okay. And then I'm sorry, what was the comment right before that?
I said lack of self-awareness.
Hey, we're going to talk about that in just a minute. Lack of self-awareness. Yeah. Yeah, unhealthy conflict. That's what it looks like. It's motivated by greed. And so what kind of people, what types of people cause unhealthy conflict? Here's what I'm going to suggest to you. Unhealthy conflict is born out of a person's heart. We were talking about fear, greed, laziness, not listening, not caring about other people's perspectives. Unhealthy conflict is born out of the condition of our heart. If our heart is hurting, how many of you noticed that if you're hurting, it's hard to care about other people? It's hard to listen. We get fearful. It's hard to have healthy conflict when we're hurting. when we're lying, we've talked about the absence of truth, the absence of trust. If we have a lying heart, it leads to unhealthy conflict. If our heart is angry, if we're just an angry person, we just walk around angry, mad. You know people like that, right? They call you, you don't even want to answer the phone. They text you, you don't want to even open it up and read it. Because their countenance is described as angry. They just have angry hearts, perverse. Perverse hearts create unhealthy conflict. What about greedy? It's hard to have healthy conflict when you're greedy, when it's always about you, when you're insecure. We'll talk more about this one too, but y'all, this one may be the foundational one. Because when we're insecure, we tend to be more greedy, angry, not always truthful. We tend to get hurt more. Insecure people promote unhealthy conflict. Lack of self-awareness, I'm going to call that self-deceiving. If we have a self-deceiving heart, if we're not very, very self-aware, then we can engage in unhealthy conflict. It's hard for us to have healthy conflict when we're self-deceiving. The Arbinger Institute, they wrote a book titled Leadership and Self-Deception. It looks like that right there. If you haven't read it, I highly encourage it. The other book, 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, is right there. Those two books have a lot to say about this material, right? But here's what the Arbinger Institute writes about self-deception. Here's what self-deception does. When we deceive ourselves, it blinds us to the true causes of problems. We look at a problem, and if we have a lot of self-deception going on within us, and we see that problem, then we're blind to the root of that problem. We're blind to the true causes of it. And once we're blind to it, all the solutions that we can think of actually make matters worse, right? You've heard it said in maybe a little different way. Hey, y'all, let's solve the root of the problem, not the symptoms, right? How often do we go to work on the symptoms and we miss the whole root? Well, the challenge with that is we never can find the root cause if we've deceived ourselves to the point that we can't see our role in the problem. So self-deception blinds us to the true causes. It obscures the truth about us. We've painted this alternate reality in our mind about who we are and how we act and how people react to us and what they think about us. And what happens is we've obscured the truth about ourselves, and it corrupts our view of other people. When we don't see who we really are, it's really hard to see who other people are. And we get a distorted view of them because we have a distorted view of ourselves, and it distorts our view about our circumstances. In other words, we don't take responsibility, we blame circumstances. It's the circumstances that caused the problem, not me. It's the other person that caused the problem, not me, because we have this self-deception going on. We've deceived ourselves that we're not part of the problem. And it inhibits our ability to make wise and helpful decisions. Y'all, as leaders, do you see how dangerous this can be? You can see what kind of a hole it can dig you in, and you can take your whole team down into the hole. Because we've deceived ourselves. I think I told you I think I told you maybe last time, maybe 2 times ago. I was going into a conflict resolution meeting. And boy, I just, man, I knew what the other guy wasn't doing, right? And then I remembered this. And I had to pause. And I had to think, okay, all right, Mark, come on now. You know better than that. You have some culpability in this situation. Be secure enough, be mature enough to admit, be vulnerable enough to admit that you have a role in this conflict. Y'all, there is never conflict. Well, you know, you should never say never, right? Or never say always. It's highly unlikely that you have conflict with another human being and you don't have some role in that conflict, right? So self-deception, we've got to learn to see ourselves accurately. All right, now let's talk about healthy conflict. All right, what is healthy conflict? We talked about unhealthy conflict. Tell me about healthy conflict. How would you describe healthy conflict? What do you think?
Something with a productive resolution, something perhaps that's moderated.
Okay, so you get to a resolution. What about all the people that were part of the equation getting to the resolution? Does it matter how they feel, or just getting to the resolution means it was healthy conflict?
You have empathy.
Okay.
There's empathy therein, which means that you know yourself but you also can put yourself in the other person's shoes, which
Okay.
is hard for most people to do. Most people don't have an average individual. By our innate nature, we don't have empathy.
That's right. You know, I heard something about this. I have no idea if it's true, but you know, one way you can tell if somebody has empathy, according to this thing that I saw. You know how when you yawn, if you're around somebody that yawns and you yawn, supposedly that's a sign of empathy. It's interesting. I have no idea.
I thought it was a biological imperative, but
well, it may be. It may be. I'm not a scientist, right? I don't know.
Me either. Hell, I'm not either.
I'm just telling you what I saw, and I don't know if it's true or not, but in some ways I could see it, right? So empathy, yes. All right. Healthy conflict includes empathy because it means that other people's opinions are important to us, and we're trying to understand how they come to those opinions, their perspective. Getting to the resolution, I want to come back though. I want an answer to my question. Is getting the resolution a mark of healthy conflict, whether or not, or does it depend on how the people feel once you get to that resolution? What do you think?
Yeah, of course it does. You gotta have everyone happy with the result, or not maybe happy, but feeling like they were heard. So I think respect is sort of tied to the empathy piece.
Okay. So let's be careful that we don't just say healthy conflict. You know you had healthy conflict when you get resolution, because you know, I mean, as a dad, I can get to a resolution. It doesn't mean that my sons agreed or felt very good about it, right? When we got there. As a boss, I've been guilty of that. Right? I can get to a resolution. Right? But how does my team feel? Did they feel heard? Did they feel respected? Did they feel like they contributed to it? Does everybody have buy-in to the resolution? That's a way we know what we got healthy conflict. Y'all, healthy conflict tends to be more about ideological. It's about ideas. It's about thoughts. It's about concepts. It's about principles. that we're in debate about. It's not about individual. It's not personal, right? It's about ideas and thoughts and concepts and principles for success, and we can have, well, I say this frequently, you know, there are some outstanding professionals that have polar opposite ideas on how to achieve the same thing. And I can respect both of them because of their results. And there can be healthy dialogue between them. And you know what happens when you have that healthy dialogue between them? You're probably going to find even a better way to do it than if they kept doing it individually on their own. Here's what happens with healthy conflict. Committed, talented people with different perspectives are engaged in it. That's what helps have healthy conflict. When everybody around the table is committed, they're all talented, therefore they all garner respect. They have different perspectives, but because we respect them, because of what their history is, because we know they're committed, we listen. It's easier to listen. And they're diverse. But they're all bought in. They're all sold out to the common mission. Y'all, when we have diverse teams with people with different perspectives, but they're all bought into the same mission, sold out. We need to have dialogue. And y'all, we'll talk about this in a minute. We embrace it, right? We should have it. The absence of healthy conflict can stagnate your team because nobody's really trying to think through what's the best way to do it. What probably should really happen in healthy conflict is you've got a meeting going on and you got a really strong person here, a really strong person here. They're both incredibly effective. They know for sure without a shadow of a doubt that what they're doing is the right way to do it. But if they don't deceive themselves, if they're mature enough, if they're secure enough, they'll figure out an even better way to do it because we all know better never stops. So, what types of people promote healthy conflict? We've alluded to it, talked a little bit about it, but I want to show you something. You're going to recognize it. What types of people promote healthy conflict? Y'all recognize that? People who have these leadership qualities. True? The more we develop these qualities, not only do our lives improve, but the lives of everybody around us improve. We're able, the more we develop the quality and the people in our team develop these qualities, we're able to have healthy conflict. Why? Because we're more secure. Because we listen better. Because we have deeper character. We communicate better. We have a positive attitude. We take responsibility for the things that went well as the things that didn't go well. We're committed to the common mission and goals. We're passionate about it. We build healthy relationships with choice, communication, commitment. We discipline ourselves. Y'all, as we develop these qualities, we position ourselves and our team to engage in healthy conflict. So how do we turn conflict from unhealthy to healthy? How do we do that? Well, one is we expect it, y'all. Somebody said earlier, when we're not prepared, can lead to unhealthy conflict. And that's exactly right. Expect conflict, y'all. Every important relationship has conflict. So expect it. Don't be surprised about it. Develop that leadership quality of discernment where you're really listening and paying attention to your team. It will help you to expect conflict. And this is a big one, everybody. How do we turn unhealthy into healthy? Embrace it. Don't avoid it. And excel in it. Expect it. Embrace it. Excel in conflict. Right? Excel as a leader in helping to usher unhealthy conflict into healthy conflict. We do that a lot with our perspective, right? If we're avoiding conflict, it's a problem. We've got to embrace it. And so why would we embrace it? Well, because we're going to learn something. I'm going to learn something in this conflict about my motives. I'm going to learn something about courage. I'm going to learn something about humility. I'm going to learn it about myself, but I'm also going to learn it about my team. What is this person's motives really? Is this person, are they courage? Do they have a lot of courage, or are they more fearful? They prideful, or are they humble? We're going to learn. We have some ideas, but we're going to learn through shepherding conflict well. The more we do it, the more we excel at it. And we learn about our motives, courage, humility. We thrive in it, y'all. We start to thrive in it. I mean, in some ways, I guess you could say, there's in some sense, you kind of look forward to it. Because you know if you're having healthy conflict, you're getting better. If you're not having healthy conflict, people, that could be a sign of a number of things. One is they just don't care enough. Okay, well, do whatever. They just don't care. They don't have the passion for the mission and the cause. They're not sold out to it. But when they are, y'all, what we start to do is we expect it, we embrace it, we actually start to excel at it. We get better, we thrive in it because we're learning, we're growing, we're developing. And you know what really might happen? This happens all the time. The conflict, it may actually reveal our purpose. Yeah. Y'all remember Winston Churchill? There are people that write Winston Churchill would never, ever have become the leader that he was without Hitler. If he hadn't had Hitler, if he hadn't had that conflict, life would not have required from him what it did. Abraham Lincoln. Without conflict, life would not have required of him what it did. He never would have become the man that he did, that he became. How about you? I bet we've all got some experiences where conflict, difficulty, we were running from it, we were avoiding it, we didn't want to do it. But once we embraced it, once we learned and developed the courage and humility and all these other qualities, what happens is, you know what? It actually reveals who we've been created to be. Healthy conflict can reveal our purpose. So expect it, embrace it, excel in it, and it can turn unhealthy into healthy. So what does healthy conflict do for teams? When you have healthy conflict on your team, what's it going to do for you? This is Lencioni. Here's what he says. Healthy conflict will do this. It will extract and exploit the ideas of all team members. When you have healthy conflict, you will pull out of people ideas that they have that are going to be beneficial for the team, that without the conflict, they never would have said anything. It's going to solve real problems quickly. How many times, y'all, do we have challenges? Do we have problems? And man, we just go around forever and ever trying to figure them out, trying to solve them. And we put them off and we put them off and we put them off because we fear the conflict. Healthy conflict solves problems quickly. It minimizes politics. Now, y'all, that's a big one. It puts critical topics on the table for discussion. It brings to the forefront the things that we've really got to talk about. It deepens our relationships. Y'all, again, every important relationship has conflict. That's going to happen. What we want to do is turn it from unhealthy to healthy conflict. Why? Because it's going to deepen our relationships and it strengthens our team. That's what healthy conflict does. As team leaders, is this not what we want from our team? We want to identify the problems. We want to get the ideas from the people who are experiencing them, from everybody. We want to get to the solution without worrying about if we're going to hurt that person's feelings or hurt that person's feelings. We want to get to the solution, minimize all the politics and the drama and all that. We've discussed this critical topic, and when we get to the other side of it and we have a resolution, we're stronger. And our relationships are deeper. So y'all, healthy conflict, if we're not having it, it's costing our team. So we want to have it. Don't run from it. Expect it. Embrace it. Excel at it. All right. So again, not finance, not strategy, not technology. It's teamwork that remains the ultimate competitive advantage because it's both powerful and rare. Teamwork, y'all. Y'all remember the first time I ever met you? I talked to you about great teams, right? Great teams are made up of great people. And great people have big goals. How big are your goals? Great teams are made up of responsible people. That's a leadership quality, right? I'm going to take responsibility. I'm not going to run from it. I'm not going to point the other direction. I'm going to run from it. I'm going to run toward the issue. I'm going to take responsibility for that which I need to take responsibility, like it or not. And I'm going to encourage other people. That's what great people do. They set big goals. They're responsible. They encourage others. They're authentic. They tell the truth. We don't have the absence of truth. We tell the truth. We're authentic. Honesty is the value. That's what your people are looking for. Authenticity. We talk about that. And we're thankful. We have this heart of gratitude. It's a value, right? Personal. Y'all see these? Great people make up great teams. And do you see these in correlation with those values I was showing you earlier? Personal responsibility, honesty, gratitude. We want our teams to be made up of people that embrace these qualities. Because people, when you get people like this together, you form teams that do great things. And how do they do it? They talk, they communicate, right? They execute. We've talked about that. They execute. And when there's a problem, we get together, we have healthy conflict, and we figure out the best way to execute. We're accountable to other people. We're secure enough to be accountable. Yes, to other people, but y'all, to each other, right? Great teams are accountable to each other, to ourselves. We measure. We're not afraid to measure. One of the dysfunctions of teams, when you read these other dysfunctions, they quit paying attention to the results. They're not accountable. Accountability is one of them. They don't pay attention to the results. Lack of commitment is the other one. And we succeed on purpose, y'all. It's not on accident. Great teams. That's what you're building. And so we got to have people that have goals, responsible encouragers, are authentic, they're thankful. And what do we do as a team? We talk, we communicate, we execute, we're accountable, we measure, we succeed on purpose because of all that. And a big part of what allows all that to happen is we don't fear conflict. We learn how to have healthy conflict, how to excel in it, embrace it, excel in it, right? So I hope this is helpful for you, because conflict, every important relationship is going to have it, but let's learn how to make it healthy. And one of the real lessons is, if we're not having any conflict, we could argue we're not growing like we should. It's actually necessary for us to grow like we really should. We just want to make sure it's healthy, not unhealthy. Okay, so listen, next time, 2 weeks from now, we're going to talk about healthy confrontation. We have conflict, so how do we confront in a healthy manner? Because I'll just give you a quick snap. I'm going to give you just one quick thing, okay? As leaders, we have to care enough to confront. We have to care enough to confront. Okay, I'm going to stop this and we will call it a day.